Giannis Antetokounmpo just flat out said he will never ask for a trade. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis has turned into one of the hottest names on the trade market after the Hawks traded Trae Young. And the entire league feels like it's on its way to some organized chaos. We'll talk about Giannis, AD, the East being wide open, and why the Thunder also look vulnerable and how that's going to play into the trade deadline. All that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it today, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo flat out said he does not want, or he will not ask for a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks, saying this: there will never be a chance and there will never be a moment that I will come out and say I want a trade. That's not in my nature, okay? So, that's great. I mean, listen, there's been so much speculation on whether Giannis was going to be traded or not. We heard a couple of weeks ago that it would take Giannis flat out asking the Milwaukee Bucks for a trade before they move him. But here's the part of this, right? Even when he was asked if he would still be on the Bucks past the trade deadline, he said, we'll see. So it's like, okay, will Giannis not ask for a trade directly? Will he send his representation to go ask for a trade? Will they put pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks? Like, right now, it does seem like the Bucks are set up to be buyers at the trade deadline. That's something that we've heard. They are going to be looking to use, like Kyle Kuzma's contract, maybe even Bobby Portis, the one pick that they can trade and try to find something out, right? So that's outwardly, and we'll see what happens with that, right? But I think overall, like, you do not want to see this, or Giannis doesn't want to leave Milwaukee, and that's something that I've talked about a lot. Like, I think there is something in the back of Giannis's mind, and even him saying like his kids have grown up in Milwaukee, those type of things, to where he just doesn't really want to leave Milwaukee. He wants to give them every opportunity humanly possible to try to show that they can build another championship team around himself. And it sounds like the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be aggressive, whether that's adding Zach LaVine or any other player. It seems like they are ready to be aggressive about trying to go out there and getting what they need, try to convince Giannis and to show Giannis that they're always going to continually look to make those moves to try to keep him in Milwaukee, to try to keep him healthy, to try to keep the team contending. And we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there. I don't know if that's going to be what ultimately happens, but we'll see. Giannis also said, but it's frustrating for me, right? So, we'll see. Giannis said, hey, guys, I'm here. I love it. But we got to see what's going to happen here. He's eligible for a 4-year, $275 million contract extension with the Bucks on October 1st. And so we'll see what the saga then brings for that, right? But ultimately, like, let me hear from you guys on this one. When you hear Giannis now flat out saying, hey, I'm never going to ask for a trade. I'm not going to ask for a trade. I haven't asked for one. Do you believe it? Just to add some more color to this, Doc Rivers was quoted to say this: if you're around the team every day and you saw those reports, you would laugh. He's given no indication that he wants out. That doesn't mean that he doesn't change his mind or whatever, but Giannis loves being in Milwaukee. He loves playing for this team. If something happens someday where he changes his mind, I'd actually be surprised, but that can happen. I mean, Giannis has also been very clear in the sense that he wants to compete for something. Every season of his career, he will go wherever he feels like he's competing for a title. He's also said those things, but I guess actions speak louder than words. And until Giannis puts some action behind that and looks at what the Milwaukee Bucks does and say, no, let me go ahead and take a step. No disrespect, no fact that I don't like your franchise or anything like that, or I'm not respectful and appreciative of what I've been able to build here, but I want to compete for a title. But it seems like right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is taking like the Dwight Howard approach with it, where it's almost like he wants out, but he doesn't want to say he wants out because he doesn't want to lose any of the relationships and things that he's built there, if they would even do that. We've seen players ask for a trade or leave and be able to go back to their franchises, still sign those contracts to retire as a player of those ceremonious contracts, to retire as a player of that team, whatever it takes. But Giannis is tied to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is definitely tied to Giannis, and that's just the reality of it. So until Giannis comes to the place where he's like, nope, get me out of here, it's time to move on for whatever it's worth, then that's just where it seems like this team is going to be. They're just going to be stuck circling this thing, and hopefully Milwaukee can then get it right, because otherwise, like, what's going to happen? Like, what is that going to look like? What does that really accomplish for either the Bucks or Giannis? Giannis wants to win a championship. The Bucks want to have a future of their franchise, and what does that look like if they're unwilling to move on? So I guess we'll see what's going to happen there. It's one of the more interesting dynamics in the NBA, but we shall see what's going to happen with that. But moving on from that and getting into the next topic, Anthony Davis is now considered the prime trade target for the Hawks after the Trae Young deal. Take that for what you will. Take that all with a grain of salt. This one comes from Brett Siegel as well, saying that. But it now suggests that with the Mavericks being unlikely to commit a long-term salary to AD, that him and his representation could look to get out, and maybe the Atlanta Hawks are looking to do that. I say that you can't rule it out. They now do have salary matching that's expiring, right? They can give up. You look at Kristaps Porzingis and CJ McCollum if they decide to do so to get Anthony Davis in there. If that's what they decide to do, they have the expiring money. They have the draft picks if they want to do that because they gave up no draft picks in the Trae Young trade. So they can do that. And, the Mavericks reportedly who are valuing, or if they do decide to make a big move, what they're valuing at that point is being able to bring young players in, stack draft assets, get those type of things to build around Cooper Flagg. And we'll see if what's going to happen with that. It still comes down to, are the Dallas Mavericks actually going to look to trade that? And reportedly, it's not just the Atlanta Hawks. It's the Hawks, the Raptors, the Warriors, and Bucks who all have an interest in trading for Anthony Davis. Now, I don't know how the hell the Bucks are going to do that, to be quite frank with you. If they can, front line of Giannis, Anthony Davis, and Miles Turner would be crazy. I mean, you still have to figure out your guards and your shooting around that, right? The Warriors, they can't do it because they don't want to give up Draymond or Jimmy Butler to get that done. They just don't have the matchable salaries at that point. The Raptors can get it done. They got the salaries that can match it. And the Hawks, as we just talked about, they do as well. So which way the Hawks go is going to determine a lot, right? The Hawks have now created $88 million beneath the first tax apron, $40 million in outward cap space. They have multiple picks in the 2026 draft if they decide to go after a player to add now, or do they want to just sit on it and sit on the picks that they have and add young talent that fits the timeline of the players that they currently have on their roster, which is interesting. The Raptors, we've heard all along, they're looking for front court help. Now, reportedly, that they want to keep Pirtle in that case if they can. We'll see if they get that. But they also can have the contracts to match that. And when it just comes down to the other teams, it's a little bit difficult for those for the Bucks and the Warriors to match that salary. So while those teams may very well be interested in Anthony Davis, I don't know if it's realistic for them to be able to seal that deal and make it happen, to be 100% honest with you. I just don't know, right? The Bucks, they don't have the draft picks. They don't have the matching salary. So, the Mavericks are in a place right now to where they can even choose to extend Anthony Davis and then try to trade him, but it seems like that's off the table. But if they want to gain some assets back from this mess that Nico Harrison and got them in, they probably need to start making trades, and they need to make them fast, starting with the first trip in Anthony Davis, then seeing what Kyrie Irving wants to do after that. Does Kyrie want to stay around for the team to be focused around Cooper Flagg? Does he want to go a place that he feels like he can try to win a title as well? If that's the case, does he want to go to the Bucks? We'll see. But I want to bring all this together, right? This is all shaping up to make this trade deadline an absolutely wild trade deadline, and there are a few reasons why. One, the names that are available at this trade deadline. We just talked about Anthony Davis, right? Trae Young's already been moved. There are some big names right now that absolutely could be available around there, and that then alone opens so much up. We haven't even mentioned LaMelo Ball, John Morant, who some of those things have quieted down around those. Anthony Davis, we talk about almost every day. Giannis, doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Michael Porter Jr., with the numbers that he's putting up, is somebody that definitely could be looked to be on the move. Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, those are all names. Lauri Markkanen, potentially, right? So there are all those names that you hear with all the, I'm not saying that all those names are going to actually be moved, but with all those names potentially available in some shape, form, or fashion, that alone can make this absolutely a wild trade deadline because of the numbers. I didn't mention Jaren Jackson Jr., who could be moved as well, right? Kawhi Leonard, Zubac, if the Clippers decide to blow that up and they want to decide to go younger and reset their timeline as well, those type of things. Should we rule out that the Lakers could possibly move Austin Reeves to get players that fit around Luka? I think so at this point. I think Austin Reeves has shown he can play with Luka, so I doubt that. But again, another name that you can't necessarily rule out. The names available and the caliber of players that are available alone would make this trade deadline one of the wildest trade deadlines in a while, albeit, of course, Luka being moved was one of the more unexpected moves. But that's not the only thing. There are other factors of it. The Eastern Conference being wide open is going to lead another team, a team that feels like they have their window. Of course, the Boston Celtics, who we've already heard, they could very well look to make a move with Anthony Simons for a big. That's there. With the Detroit Pistons being number one right now in that Eastern Conference, the New York Knicks are always looking to make moves, those type of things. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, where are they going right now, right? With the things going on with them, do they look to make a move? Like all those things around there. You have the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that was towards the bottom of the East last year that now has a MVP candidate in Tyrese Maxey as well, and a Rookie of the Year candidate in VJ Edgecombe. And with Joel Embiid and Paul George being more healthy recently than not, could they look to make a big move as well to solidify their chances to move up there? The Raptors are trying to make a move up the Eastern Conference. The Miami Heat are always looking to make a big move. So you have all these teams right now that in the Eastern Conference, because of how tight the East is, that very well could convince themselves, hey, we're one move away from having a legitimate shot at winning the Eastern Conference, and that's great. It's just 3 wins that separate the number 2 seed from the 6 seed. And even if you look at the number 5 seed to the number 10 seed, it's like 5.5 games. So because of that, in the Eastern Conference being wild, there are going to be a lot of teams in the East that are going to be looking to make moves at the trade deadline. They're not all going to make them, but they're going to be a number of teams in the East that are looking to make moves. But then let's even go out west with the OKC Thunder looking more vulnerable than ever. They are absolutely, do not count out the Minnesota Timberwolves. Don't even count out the Denver Nuggets. Don't count out any of those teams in the Eastern Conference from looking at it and saying, listen, we need to make our move now to try to beat this Thunder team before they get completely unstoppable. Like, the Thunder look human right now. And once teams smell blood in the water, they feel like they can make those moves. The Spurs, who've beat the Thunder a number of times. The Thunder have already lost 7 games this season as well. Like, that's not huge. And I'm not saying that the Thunder still aren't going to be the favorite and probably still won't win the West, but they absolutely are teams that smell blood in the water and think, hey, we could be that team that if we make the right move with matchups and looking how the Pacers played against the Thunder last year in the finals, look, there's a blueprint out there that people can believe that maybe they can replicate some of that or even be better than some of that, and it pushes them towards being able to compete in a playoff series with the OKC Thunder. Now, I do think Rick Carlisle did an amazing job coaching in that, and you can't overlook that part of it if you want to talk about teams or whatever else that if the Thunder are beatable or not. But overall, like, this is still a very, very open Western Conference as well. Like, yes, the Thunder are best. They're at a tier by themselves, but all those teams below the Thunder, watching the Thunder lose these games and things, could very well start thinking, hey, we'll see. When you look at the Thunder in wins versus losses, field goal shooting percentage continues to be a thing. If this Thunder team goes cold from the field, and like in their losses, they average 30% from 3 and 42% from the field. And we've already seen how a team like the Pacers that was well coached, deep, and had two-way players on it were able to push them. So again, this is another thing where teams can look to make moves around there. So between the big names, the East being open, the Thunder looking like humans now in this, things are great. And that's not even to mention the thing that always leads to it is salary cap stuff, right? Like teams wanting to avoid the second tax apron, teams looking to rid themselves of some contracts, some teams that have the ability to absorb some contracts and stack draft picks. The salary cap stuff of all of this is always where things are interesting in it, right? 8 teams are currently $7 million or less into the luxury tax, which is the first time that 23 teams in the NBA are not paying the luxury tax. But you have the Philadelphia 76ers, you have the Los Angeles Clippers, you have the Houston Rockets, you have Orlando Magic, you have the Clippers, you have the Toronto Raptors, you have these teams that are there and have a little bit of space in there to try to do some things. So, with always trying to avoid stuff in the salary cap, it leaves the door open to some things, and that remains to be true now. So everything, things quiet kept, this could be a very crazy and exciting trade deadline. And that's not only exciting for this channel and content and just basketball viewers to talk some basketball and talk about trades, but it also leads that, hey, no matter what the standings are now, after February, there could be a lot that change that makes that race between February to the end of the season even that much more exciting, where teams are still jockeying for a position. And we got to see which teams are going to come out on top of that. And we'll be covering it all right here at NBA Central. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. Do you guys believe that Giannis stays in Milwaukee? Do you believe that Giannis will not ask for a trade? Where do you think Anthony Davis ends up? Which teams do you think are going to be the most aggressive at the trade deadline? I want to hear from you guys on all of this. We can't make this show what it is without hearing from you guys. Make sure you guys are following us. Oh, Make sure you like the channel, subscribe to the channel as well. Like the video, subscribe to the channel is what I should say. You guys can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making an episode. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.